You're listening to the Ballroom Network. The following program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Goon Podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, the Goon, John Santucci, the Tooch, and the man with the plan, Adam Shum. We're bringing you the fantasy football knowledge that you need every single week.
Derrick Henry still going. He might go. 99 yards for the touchdown. Unbelievable.
Flush that again all the way back. Turning the corner. Fires downfield. Caught. Touchdown. Only Mahomes turns what might have been a 15-yard sack into a 27-yard touchdown.
Saquon Barkley across midfield. Down the sideline. Staying in bounds. And Barkley takes it all the way. 68 yards for his first NFL touchdown. McCaffrey right up the middle. And he is gone for the touchdown. 58 yards. Pass is to Thomas. He's gone. Touchdown Saints.
Okay, it's time for the easiest part of any coach's job, the cut. Now, while I wasn't able to cut everyone I wanted to, I have cut a lot of you. Steven, I like your hustle. That's why it was so hard to cut you. Congratulations, the rest of you made the team. Except you, and you.
God bless fantasy football. There are many things a man can do with his time. And this, better than those things.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of of Fantasy Football Goon. I'm so used to it. Baseball season's over. But no, this is Fantasy Football Goon. We're here to answer your fantasy questions and lineup questions all season long. And I'm joined, as always, by Adam Shum, the man with the plan, my co-host. And our other co-host, John Santucci, the Tooch, couldn't be with us today. He's in Kansas City with his family. And Adam, real quick, how you doing, buddy? You ready for a Sunday full of football?
Absolutely. You know it, man. Ready to get going on week 5 here. Got some teams that look like they're turning the corner, ready to keep the momentum going this week and try to get things on our path to the championships.
Yes, sir. That's the plan today. And before we forget, I know we mentioned our buddy Tooch couldn't be with us today, but he did send us a quick little video with a couple props plays if you're a gambling man or gambling woman. So check them out real quick, and then we'll be right back after this 1-minute video.
Hi, this is Tooch at Barroom Network's Fantasy Football Goon Show. I'm on the road today in Kansas City with the family, so I won't be on the show, but I'm going to leave you with a few of my favorite prop plays. We'll take Josh Allen over 1.5 passing touchdowns. He's hit that in every game this season. We're going to take Breece Hall, longest rush, over 15.5 yards versus the bad Denver run defense. We're going to take Matt Stafford over 273.5 passing yards versus the Eagles. You can't run on the Eagles, but you can pass on them. And most teams do. Then we're going to take a play we take every week until the books decide to up it. We're going to take Bijan Robinson over 28.5 receiving yards, which he's hit in every game. This is Tooch. Best of luck.
All right, Tooch. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for sending that in, even with not being on the show today. But Adam, let's dive in to week 5 fantasy starts and sits. And to get things going before we get to our questions, the London game has been underway here for a good hour and a half or so. Not much going on there, Adam. It's 11-7. Jacksonville leading Buffalo with basically 4 minutes left in the third quarter. Buffalo hasn't done much of anything other than throw to Stephon Diggs. I mean, he has 6 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. Allen has thrown for 178 yards with 1 touchdown. So almost all of that to Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
James Cook has done absolutely nothing on the ground with 4 carries for -2 yards, Adam. we were talking about this before we went on air. What the heck's going on with James Cook?
And I don't know. Buffalo's just so kind of like Kansas City. These teams are so good and have so many weapons. They're so inconsistent. It seems like the way they use them. James Cook had been seeing a lot of carries and stuff like that, but apparently in this game, Jacksonville defense, I haven't been able to watch this one this morning, but it sounds like Jacksonville defense has been pretty stout and not allowing them to get in the game script to run the ball a lot. So I really don't know why he's not seeing more targets though either. I know he's got one catch for 15 to 20 yards or something, and that's pretty much his only points.
Two catches for 18 yards so far.
2 for 18, yeah. You would think if they're not able to run it, they would try to throw it some more to him because that's not like Latavius Murray's specialty. So I'm kind of curious what's going on there too.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe the game script will help us out later if they can get back in the game. But right now they're only down by 4, so we'll continue to monitor that as it comes up. But our buddy Connor's been patiently waiting here in the chat for us, Adam. So let's answer a couple questions for him. Morning, Connor. Drake London, Rashid Rice, or Josh Downs today? I wish I could say none.
Yeah. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go with Rice, actually. I'm out on Drake London today for sure. I just don't trust Falcons' passing game whatsoever outside of Bijan Robinson. Desmond Ridder just looks terrible right now. I can't believe they're not benching him yet I think they have Taylor Heineke, don't they now?
Yeah.
Seems like he could definitely utilize Kyle Pitts and these guys more and Drake London. So I'd probably take my chance on Rashid Rice, but yeah, it's kind of rough here.
I would go with Rice. I'm just curious, Connor, is Josh Reynolds from Detroit by chance available on your waiver wire? Because there's no Amon-Ra St. Brown today. Jameson Williams is making his debut after a suspension, so you don't know how involved he's going to be. I think Josh Reynolds is unavailable on a lot of waiver wires, and this could be a guy that has like wide receiver 2 startability, and he's probably available in a good chunk of leagues. Adam, how do you feel about Josh Reynolds kind of stepping in today for Detroit?
I think that's a great call, Joe. There's a lot of factors in play there that could lead to him having a lot bigger role today. And Detroit's at home. We know how Goff plays so well at home. So, yeah, I think that's a great call to look for on the waiver wire.
Yeah, so let us know, Connor. Hopefully he's there because I would start him over all 3 of those guys this week for sure. More questions here from Connor. This is a tough one. I don't know how he has all 3 of these guys. Laporta, Hawkinson, or Ferguson. I mean, those guys, that's a really great problem to have. Those guys are all fantastic plays this week. Hawk's going to probably get the most volume, but Ferguson.
Who's the Detroit matchup against?
Detroit, I believe, is playing. Is it Atlanta? Am I drawing a blank?
That's what I was thinking.
Carolina, I think.
Carolina.
Hang on, I'm telling you right now. Yeah, they're playing Carolina, and they're at home. The Lions are at home.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a big David Montgomery situation right there as well. So I'd probably play Hawkinson here, playing against the Chiefs, probably trying to keep up and on the scoreboard there. I think Hawkinson probably would have a big game.
Yeah,
but I really like Laporta. That's probably one of the only times I would say not to play Laporta over somebody else because Laporta's awesome.
All 3 of these guys are on my start list this week. I don't have Hawkinson listed because he's like a top 5 tight end, but I mean, right. all 3 of these guys everyone would kill to have any of these guys in their lineup unless you have a Kelsey, Andrews, or Hawkinson. So Hawkinson takes the lead for me here too as well, specifically just for volume. But I do think both Laporta and Ferguson both have a really good chance to score a touchdown today. So if you happen to have an extra flex spot, Connor, I could see maybe plugging in one of the other guys depending on who you have. But I like that. Connor also wants to know, do we trust Aaron Jones to be healthy this week? He was on a pitch count last week, a snap count, pitch count, whatever you want to call it. I would. I like his matchup this week, Adam. I mean, I think the Packers really need him if they want to be successful. And then, I mean, they get to go against Las Vegas, the Raiders this week, who just can't stop anybody on any form of defense, especially with the run. I don't know. Do you trust him, Adam? Because I do this week.
I 100% trust him. I'm starting him everywhere. I think it's actually going to be a huge game for Aaron Jones. Green Bay, there's been rumblings out of there this week. They're aware they need to step up the run game more. That A.J. Dillon's not working out for them. I think that's why they took it easy with Aaron Jones last week, was to just get him a little bit in the game and ready for this week. And like you said, bad defense, great matchup for him. I think Aaron Jones is going to get a lot of touches today, both in the rushing game and the passing game. So I think it looks good for Aaron Jones today.
Sure. I'm feeling that too. And lastly, before we get into our starts and sits, Connor wants to know, Lazard is on waivers. Do you pick him over any of those other guys? No, I think I would still stick with Rashid Rice out of those.
Yeah.
I mean, Lazard, sure, had a good game last week, but you can't expect him to replicate that.
I mean, the Jets, you're just like hoping Garrett Wilson's going to have a good game. I'm not trying to gamble on any other receivers.
Yeah, I mean, Garrett Wilson's the only guy I'm touching beside him and Breece Hall on the Jets, and that's maybe Tyler Conklin if you need a tight end. But
Yeah.
But Adam, let's dive into our starts and sits of the week. Why don't you lead things off with your quarterback starts?
All right. Well, we mentioned a minute ago, Jared Goff at home versus Carolina Panthers. Goff's always money in the bank on these home games. I could easily see them just blowing them out and Goff getting 2 or 3 touchdowns early in this game. And like I said, I think Montgomery could have a huge game as well once they get ahead. Jahmyr Gibbs being out, like you mentioned earlier. Matthew Stafford's the other one versus Philadelphia today. I think Stafford is going to have a huge yardage day for sure. Philadelphia's a team that, like Tooch mentioned in his promo there about the bets, it's you can't run against that Philadelphia front, but you can throw against them. And we know Stafford likes to air it out, and he's getting his number 1 weapon back this week in Cooper Kupp. We're going to get to see the Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua experience here together and see how that goes. Tutu Atwell, just so many weapons. I think the Rams may upset the Eagles in that game, actually. And the other one's Mr. Consistency right now, Brock Purdy, even versus Dallas defense. I think he's a safe play right now. You can count on 200 to 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, or just pretty much money.
He doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah, he doesn't turn the ball over. He's got so many weapons. They're going to get in the end zone. I'm not that afraid of the Dallas defense with the way San Francisco plays offense. They're just methodical, and they're gonna get you some points there. So I think he's a very good, solid play today.
I love it, man. I love all 3 of those calls. Stafford versus Philly, I think, might be a surprise fantasy gold game with a lot of points. I think more than expected in that game.
Yeah,
so
I
look
think
for the
Stafford
points
and
to fly.
Kupp are gonna just come right back to it, man.
I hope so. We'll talk more about it later, but there's a lot of good weapons and a lot of options from the Rams to play. So let's dive into my quarterback starts. I love Anthony Richardson today against Tennessee. I think obviously they're good against the run, but Richardson's gonna throw with the weapons he has. He gets Jonathan Taylor back. And then most of all, if you have Taylor and these guys downfield, if Richardson has to scramble, I could see him doing that well against Tennessee today. So I like Richardson. He's inside my top 5 at quarterback starts this week. My top start of the week, which he's burned me in the past, but I feel like it's going to happen this week, is Kirk Cousins against Kansas City. Kirk's going to have to get the ball out of his hands quick, but he's got those weapons. He's got the guys around him. Kansas City's not great against the pass. I think this is going to be a shootout today. I can feel it in my bones. And then CJ Stroud, the impressive rookie, has looked great for Houston. Tank Dell, Nico Collins, they're just getting the job done. Atlanta's secondary is horrendous. If CJ Stroud doesn't throw for 300 and at least 2 touchdowns today, I'd be surprised. So I think Stroud has a massive day. I traded him to Tooch in a package a couple weeks ago for Kirk Cousins. I kind of wish I kept Stroud, but Cousins has a good playoff run later on, so I'm not too upset about it. But boy, oh boy, CJ Stroud.
I think they're pretty similar players for fantasy. I think we're already seeing that, and I think that's going to continue. Stroud is very similar to Cousins in the passing volume thus far. Even if it's from behind, he's going to get the volume and the yardage. And like you said, he's got really good weapons, and they're just now. John Mechie's just now really coming back, so that's going to be a 3rd great receiver potentially.
And through 4 games, he doesn't have a single turnover. So impressive looking, probably a leader currently for Rookie of the Year. So impressive so far for CJ Stroud. Tooch's starts. Even though he's not here, we can dissect him. He likes Tua today against the Giants, which I think you like Tua anytime he's got a plus matchup, and the Giants surely can't stop anyone yet. So I love that call. And he also likes Stafford, and he also likes Richardson. So we talked about those guys. Obviously, great plays there. We got another question here in the chat from our buddy Caesar. Josh Reynolds or Drake London? We actually just talked about this a few minutes ago. Josh Reynolds is going to be basically, you could argue here, but I'd say he's probably going to be wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 1 for the Lions today. No Amon-Ra St. Brown, no Jahmyr Gibbs. You have Jameson Williams coming off the suspension, who, Adam, we don't really know how involved he's going to be. I'm not comfortable starting him just yet, but if you're desperate, you certainly can. But Josh Reynolds, for me, is the start here. London has not looked good. The quarterback play has been horrendous for Atlanta. I'm all in on Reynolds. Adam, are you feeling the same way?
Yeah, over Drake London. Like I said, I'm just out on the Atlanta passing game right now outside of Bijan Robinson out of the backfield. There's nobody's getting it done for you. It's just you're asking for a 2-point game from one of those guys. So I would definitely take Reynolds in the role he's going to have today over Drake London. I do love Drake London's talent. It's just the quarterback play is not there right now.
Yeah, it seems to be the consistent feeling in Atlanta. You got Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London, all these great players, and think you'd plug a quarterback in there, but I guess not. Let's move on to running backs for starts of the week, and I'll lead things off here. We talked about this before, but I love Breece Hall today against Denver. I'm pretty sure you and I could probably rush for like 30 yards against the Denver defense. So I think Breece Hall might quadruple or go 5 times that amount in this game against Denver. So look for Breece Hall to be involved in every asset of the game. Breece Hall is the difference in this game. He's going to be Mr. Relevant. He's going to have 25 plus touches in this game. I can book it. Same thing could be said about David Montgomery. We mentioned just a little while ago, no Jahmyr Gibbs today, Adam, against Carolina. So Monty is going to be the workhorse as long as he can stay healthy, and it's a great matchup. So look for him to have a big day. And then regardless of the status of Devon Achane and his rise for the Dolphins, I still think Raheem Mostert has a ton of value, and he's going to be the lead back. I guess there's no such thing in that offense right now, but he's going to get enough volume against a really, really terrible team against the run and the Giants that I think Mostert's going to have 1 or 2 scores today. So I'm plugging him into all lineups where I can. So I love Raheem Mostert today, Adam.
I like all those picks as well. Breece Hall is going to be one of mine. Obviously, they say they're cutting back his load. I mean, they're not cutting back his load anymore today. They're going to let him loose and give him the full workload that they've been kind of working him into. So he's a great play. I think he breaks off a huge run versus Denver. I could see like a 50-yard touchdown happening there. Other one, I like Josh Jacobs. He had a pretty good game last week after a slow start to the season, but he did that last year as well, and then ended up leading the league in rushing and pretty much just dominated most of the season. So Green Bay, I'm not too scared of that. It is, the Raiders have struggled thus far, but I think Josh Jacobs is the answer to them getting back on track. So they need to get him going versus Green Bay. And then David Montgomery, you mentioned him, man, just total beast. We know that from his days in Chicago. He's perfect fit for that Detroit offense right now. And I think they could just Carolina's defense sucks. They're just going to pound it. Detroit could score 30 points in the first half, I think.
I agree. I'm looking forward to that game. All good matchups there. Let's take a look at Tooch's starts. And he's got 2 guys we talked about already in Montgomery and Josh Jacobs. But he likes Bijan Robinson against Houston. Bijan truly looking like the all-star a lot of us thought he could be. Adam, your thoughts on what you've seen out of Bijan so far and his play against Houston today?
I mean, Bijan's, in my opinion, he's already the best running back in the NFL, and that's just going to continue to show each week, I think. Tooch is on the Bijan Robinson receiving yards bet every week. That's money in the bank as long as it's down in those. I think he said it was 29 yards today or something.
Yeah, 28 and a half, I think. Yeah, he needs 29 to win.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. He gets that on a couple of catches easy. So Bijan Robinson's just everything, man. I mean, he's everything for that Atlanta offense. You know, he's going to catch 5-6 passes every game, especially in these games where they play from behind because, you know, let's face it, they're not a great team. So they will play from behind. And then in the games that they are hanging in, he's going to get 20, 25 carries. So he's going to be the ultimate workhorse.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. He's so exciting to watch, Adam.
Yeah, so fast and smooth.
He is. He's as smooth as butter. And we got a comment here from Sean, which reminds me we can walk through the inactives here in a bit. But Sean, appreciate you tuning in again, buddy. He said, any update on Davante Adams? Is he playing Monday? And do I take a chance that he will play? It's up in the air. I'm hearing game time decision. I'm hearing, you know, he's feeling a little bit better. I've heard a little bit of both sides of the fence here, Adam. He's such a great player, but like if he doesn't play, you're absolutely screwed on Monday night. I mean, the only way you could do this is if you pick up like, and again, you can't compare them, but I mean, Hunter Renfrow is probably available on your waivers. You pick him up and you plug him in if Davante doesn't go, because if he doesn't go, I mean, then you figure Renfrow is going to be involved in some capacity.
Yeah, I would be pretty worried about the fact that it's a Monday night game really makes it difficult because, I haven't heard a lot of updates, but when Davante Adams himself talked about it, he sounded like he was pretty hurt to me, and he was trying to hold that back of just.
And it's a shoulder,
right? Yeah, and it's a shoulder. It's something that usually one tackle he goes down, aggravates it a little more, and he's like, "Yeah, I need to get back out of here." So it's pretty risky. If you have a good option today, I would play him today. Otherwise, you're going to have to take the approach like you said with like a Hunter Renfrow type of thing, and just have a backup plan. But I would hope you'd have a better option you could do today.
Yeah, hopefully you have something better. I'm not rolling the dice if I don't have to. And as we mentioned, Davante sure is worth it, but if he doesn't go, I mean, it's Green Bay. It is a good matchup, but they are desperate, though. They're in desperate need of a win. I could see him pushing him through it, but I just don't want him to get re-injured. That's the thing I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I got him in. That reminds me, I have him in another league. I have to probably put him on my bench unless I want to roll the dice, which I kind of don't want to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to put Davante Adams on your bench anytime, especially if there's a chance he's going to play. But, man, it seems pretty risky. He sure sounded like he was in quite a bit of pain after the other game last week.
He goes, do I play Stevenson for him in flex? Well, there's another guy that's questionable and banged up this week. And not to mention New England's been horrible. So I would not put Stevenson in the flex. I'm curious what your other options are, Sean, or what's on waivers. We talked about Josh Reynolds a little while ago. Going to have a big role for the Lions today with no Amon-Ra St. Brown, no Jahmyr Gibbs. Josh Reynolds may be available. Let us know. He could be a great play. I would start him because he's going to be safe, I say, for at least 10-plus points.
Yeah. Or any of those Packers receivers, maybe Reed or Reed would be a good one actually to look for if he was available to have as the back. I would maybe actually rather have that instead of Renfrow as backup plan.
Yeah, that's true.
Jaden Reed, he's been quite good, and I would feel safer about that.
And the Raiders suck.
Right, yeah, I would feel safer about like Jaden Reed if he was available as a backup for Davante Adams.
For sure. Yeah. And our buddy Dom wants to know, are we taking a risk and playing Jameson Williams this week after the suspension? We were talking about this a little bit earlier, Dom. You know, it's a little early. You got to see how they use him. He's going to shake the rust off. I'm not starting him yet this week. Sure, he could absolutely have a touchdown and, 75 yards receiving, but you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know. You haven't seen him play. I think he had to stay away from the team during the whole suspension. So he just had, a week now with the team?
Yeah, I think playing him today or you'd be counting on like one big play, and that's just too risky, I think, in week one. He played, 5 or 6 games last year and really only had like one good game.
He didn't really do much last year.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't like fit right in right away. So I would give it some time here. But he's definitely worth stashing if you can afford to have him on your bench. But I wouldn't be starting him right away.
And sure, he might scoop right in and have a big role in this game and have a ton of points, but I'm just not willing to risk taking he's a guy that's I don't want to say for sure, but he's a candidate to have a goose egg today. I mean, he very well could. I mean, Dan Campbell as well as I do. I mean, this is a guy that he's all about players and having that relationship. And you get suspended and you're out, he might not be that involved in his first game. So I'm not taking the risk just yet. But Adam, we're getting to the wide receiver starts of the week. I just wanted to bring up something real quick. Is the Bears traded Chase Claypool this week to the Miami Dolphins.
Yes.
There's a report that's coming out that's kind of floating around the internet. Don't know how accurate it is, but that they're kicking the tires on maybe making Chase Claypool a tight end for them, which I could see with that wide receiver room being the way it is, and Chase Claypool is a big guy. Thoughts on people? I've seen him in a lot of leagues. He's in the trending top 3, top 5 players added. What are your thoughts on people grabbing him and kind of stashing him to see if he becomes a tight end or a part of that offense?
Well, I mean, honestly, when I've seen that prior to what you just said, I laughed at it because I'm like, Dolphins have Chase Claypool doesn't stand a chance of getting on the field for the Dolphins at wide receiver with that team they have. Is what I thought immediately when they traded for him. I'm like, he's just simply going to be a depth piece for them if they have a bunch of injuries stack up. However, you mentioned the tight end. I hadn't heard that yet. He does have the size and stuff to do that. He could play that Mike Gesicki role they used to have, so that is a little bit interesting there. He's probably not going to be on my roster anytime soon, but that's pretty interesting to keep an eye on. But as far as wide receiver, I don't think there's a chance he does anything out there.
I mean, if you're in a super deep league, like 12 to 14, 16, even if you're in a thick league like 18, guillotine league, keeper league, dynasty league, it's a guy you can pick up on waivers and keep him on your bench. And if he becomes a tight end, then, maybe he has some value there. But as we know, and Adam and I definitely know over the last couple of years, the tight end for Miami is boom or bust. You could have a 2-touchdown game, and then you could do nothing for 3 weeks in a row. That's the Mike Gesicki effect. So we'll see what happens.
He could totally play that part, though. I mean, I hadn't even thought about that. That's quite interesting.
No, now the trade makes a little bit more sense if that's what they do.
Yeah.
But let's do our wide receiver starts, Adam. And speaking of Miami Dolphins wide receivers,
Jalen Waddle, buddy, he missed last week, the concussion. It's his turn to put up some big stats this season. Everybody else has been doing it. He kind of had a little bit of slow start and then got the concussion. So I think today's his day to bounce back. We know Jalen Waddle, like he has some boom and bust games, but by the end of the year, he's like a top 15 receiver. So he's going to have a great game. I think the Dolphins are going to just blow the Giants out today. So the other one, I'm going with taking my chances on the Jets here with Garrett Wilson. I think if he's going to have another big game, it's going to be today versus Denver. Everybody else is. Zach Wilson looked way better last week. Not saying I have a whole lot of confidence in Zach Wilson every game or anything, but versus this defense, I think he can maybe carry that over another game, similar to what we saw from the Bears with Fields. He got his confidence built up against Denver, came back and had a great game this week. I think Zach Wilson had a great game against a great team and now gets an easy team. So, I think that's a good recipe there for Garrett Wilson to get in the end zone and have a monster game today. I'm really hoping so.
For sure.
And another guy bounced back from a terrible game last week, Chris Olave for the Saints. They did nothing last week. The quarterback was just terrible for them. Derek Carr looked injured. Hopefully he's better this week, and they got to have Chris Olave. He's their best player versus New England. New England hasn't been that scary on defense like they usually are. So I think Olave has a big bounce-back game and sees double-digit targets today.
I love it, man. I think all three of these guys are probably top 15 plays this week for sure.
Yeah.
And Waddle and Wilson potentially top 5. I like Olave. He's been so inconsistent this year. I sure hope he turns it around today. Got a question here from Sean. Gus Edwards, Moss, Stevenson, Adams, or Najee Harris can only play one in flex. Out of those guys, Adams is a big question mark. Stevenson has been awful. You can't start Zach Moss anymore with the return of Jonathan Taylor. Najee Harris is a terrible matchup. I do like Gus Edwards today out of all these guys. That's kind of where I would go. Adam, how about you?
Yeah, as crazy as it sounds to pick him out of those names, I think I would probably play Gus Edwards too. I like him a lot. I believe I have him on one of my sleeper starts today. So, yeah, Gus Edwards, a great matchup and should have a pretty big role.
I hope so, man. I hope so. I have him as well. But let's see. You did your wide receiver starts. Let me get to mine. You mentioned Garrett Wilson, so we all know he's got a great matchup against Denver.
Can we Can we stop? How many more of these London games do we have to go through? The score's still 7-11 with like a few minutes left in the fourth quarter. Like every one of these games is just pitiful. Have you noticed?
I just don't understand.
Yeah, it's like every time they do this, the games are horrible.
It's like, people are freaking jet lagged, whatever. But Jacksonville's been there for 2 weeks.
Oh my God,
they're already
really?
Adjusted. They were there last week too. They played in the game last week.
I'm literally going to start making a note. I'm not playing any players that are playing these Sunday morning London games and stuff. Like it never works out.
Yeah, it's garbage. And Buffalo's a great team. Why can't they play good across the pond? I don't get it.
They've still got 7 points.
I'm glad I'm not watching it right now. I'd rather do the show. Another guy I love today, though, I love Tank Dell against Atlanta. He's looked really good with C.J. Stroud. He's becoming, we all know Nico Collins is the number one, but Tank Dell's kind of becoming the statistic number one over there because he's getting a lot of single coverage. Teams just don't know what to do with him. So I love Tank Dell. Atlanta's awful, especially in their secondary.
Houston is really close, man. I mean, they're really, their only weakness is they have a horrible run defense. Their pass defense is good. They've got C.J. Stroud, Dameon Pierce, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, John Mechie. It's like, they've got a ton of young.
They got a great team.
They've got
if they make a couple trades for a couple D linemen before the deadline, they could be a contender for sure.
Absolutely.
So I love Tank Dell. I told people to pick him up a few weeks ago, and hopefully they did. I think Jordan Addison will bounce back this week for the Vikings going up against Kansas City. He's only good for about 5 targets a game, Adam. I'd say he's usually 5 or 6 targets, but against Kansas City, and he's the deep ball guy, I expect him to have a big day today. So I'm starting Jordan Addison. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt for the bounce back. I believe in his talent, and I hope it pays off today.
Yeah, I think, like we both said, man, I just think that game could be a lot of points, and we know how Kirk Cousins could throw the ball 60 times there, and Jordan Addison's got to get at least 5 targets, like you said. Surely that's going to rise. They've got to start putting him above KJ Osborne.
Yeah.
He's got to be above KJ Osborne soon.
For sure. And it's like Travis was like reading my mind right there. Right before I talked about Jordan Addison, he put in flex spot, Jordan Addison or George Pickens. Adam, what are you doing?
Who is the Steelers going against? I forget that one.
I have it right
I'm
here.
Probably going to take Jordan Addison because of the way I think that's going to play out.
It's Baltimore.
Steelers is Baltimore, yeah. And the quarterback's up in the air there, and let's face it, Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett, neither one's going to be that great. So I'm taking Jordan Addison on what we expect to be a shootout.
I'm with you, man. I love it. Absolutely love it. And let's get to Tooch's wide receiver starts. And it wouldn't be a Tooch list without Puka on it. He's got Puka and Nakao against Philadelphia today. Of course, we talked about at the top of the show, Cooper Kupp is back for LA. But Adam, what does that mean for the the Rams offense? And then also, question 1B, what does that mean for Tutu Atwell and Tyler Higbee?
Man, I don't think it's going to cause them to see any less snaps. Obviously there's going to be a few targets spread more towards Cooper Kupp, but I think Puka's still going to have a huge target share.
I agree.
Yeah, I think mostly it's going to just knock Van Jefferson out of the picture totally, off the field basically. I know he wasn't seeing a bunch of targets, but he's not going to be on the field anymore, which is going to get keep Tutu on the field. So I think you're going to have the big weapons there with Kupp, Puka, Tutu, Higbee, and Kyron Williams out of the backfield. And Stafford's going to be throwing a ton, man. The Rams are looking pretty good right now.
They're impressive for a team that nobody thought was going to be any good.
Right. That last season really showed how important Matthew Stafford was to that team, man, how horrible they were last year without him. Yeah. And you put him right back in, and they look amazing again. So I don't think it's going to affect them that much, really. I think obviously it's going to be slight, but Puka's going to move to the number 2 role, but it's still going to be a huge role. Think about Robert Woods was very good as the number 2 there for a long time. And Puka's looks quite a bit better than Robert Woods. So I think he's still a great play.
Yeah, me too. So I love the pick there for Tooch. He also has Devontae Smith again in that same game on the other side against the Rams. I mean, Devontae's pretty much a must start every week, but against the Rams, I imagine he's going to be definitely in the top 10 wide receivers, I would imagine, today.
Oh, yeah. I love Devontae Smith every week.
Gotta love that. And then, of course, I talked about Tank Dell. Tooch has Nico Collins on his list, which is also a great play. Of course, he's wide receiver 1 for the Texans and CJ Stroud. I mean, am I crazy to say that I think the Texans might blow out Atlanta today?
I mean, it's not crazy. It could happen, but I don't think Atlanta's pass defense is quite that bad. I mean, they do have A.J. Terrell, who's one of the best corners in the league, but aside from him, you can really tear him up. I think they're just going to have to, wherever Terrell's at, it's going to not get the ball, and he doesn't really like shadow everybody, so they're going to still get their targets, Collins and Dell, but they could blow them out. You never know. Atlanta has struggled lately, but I kind of think Bijan's going to get going against Houston run defense, though.
Yeah, for sure. And then Travis is funny. Do you like Jordan Love against Las Vegas, or should I try to stream a QB this week? I do like Jordan Love today against Vegas. I'm just curious, Travis, what other quarterbacks you have on waivers in your league. There's a lot of good matchups out there. Adam and I will talk about a few more later in our sleepers, but just to give you a quick little preview, Tooch does have Jordan Love as his sleeper start of the week. And then Adam and I both like a guy named Joshua Dobbs against Cincinnati today. So those are two guys that I would probably – I don't know. I don't know if there's Joshua Dobbs as an upgrade over Jordan Love. It's probably about the same guy for me there, Adam. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, probably pretty close there. I don't know. I kind of like Dobbs has been running the ball a lot lately. He's been getting,
that's true.
He's been getting close to 10. I think he had 11 rushing attempts last week, and he's been like 40 to 60 yards for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So I kind of like Dobbs' rushing ability there. I would probably kind of lean him, actually.
Yeah, I mean, both guys are close, but you're right. He does have that upside of using his legs. Jordan Love hasn't really done a whole lot of that. So
no, not really.
So a good call out there, Adam. But let's get to our tight end starts. Why don't you lead us off here with your picks?
All right, Higbee. We talked about the Rams. I think he's going to sling it all over the place versus Philadelphia today. So I think he continues to see his usual share of targets, and don't think it's going to be affected by Cooper Kupp. I like him versus the Eagles. And we talked about Sam Laporta earlier. He's basically a must start every week. Like you said, unless you have Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews, he's probably tight end 3 for me right now, really. And then Evan Ingram, I don't know how that's worked out this morning. So he had a controversial catch at the start of that game. But
hey, there's more points now finally, Adam. It's 18-7 now.
Oh, nice. Evan Ingram get any of them?
I'm about to tell you. Let's see. So far receiving, Evan Ingram has 4 catches for 28 yards.
4 catches for 28 yards. All right, so not great. So, yeah, I thought they would need him a little more today versus Buffalo defense, but it seems like they've kind of controlled that game, whether it's been on the ground or what, I'm not sure. But, I mean, it's crazy. I'm looking at the stats right now. The Buffalo defense has 18 fantasy points, and yet they're losing.
And Trevor Lawrence has 283 passing yards and a touchdown, and they're only up 18-7.
Buffalo defense has 5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. And they're losing.
I guess the folks in London are getting a show in a different way than they expected.
Yeah. So I guess not a great call on Evan Ingram, but I sure thought they would be needing him today versus Buffalo.
Yeah, it looks like nobody showed up for the Bills except for Stephon Diggs, who's still at the same stat line as when we started the show 40 minutes ago. 6 catches, 100 yards, and 1 touchdown.
Really? Yeah, it sure does.
Bonkers. But I do love all those tight end plays. I mean, I have Evan Ingram. I thought he was going to go crazy today, but I guess there's still 5.5 minutes left in this game, so you never know. Maybe he'll have a big play. My tight end starts. I also have. Oh wait, you got 2 years.
Yeah, I got 2 more.
I have Higbee on my list as well, and Laporta. But I also like Jake Ferguson today against San Francisco. Yep. One thing they haven't been great against so far is the tight end. And let's be honest, San Francisco's been beatable on defense. They've been okay, but they've given up some points. I mean, the Rams put up a bunch of points against them. Jake Ferguson's going to be that guy that's going to be alone in the middle of the field.
49ers are much better fantasy defense than they are real life right now.
Yeah, that's true.
You still get your sacks and stuff for your fantasy points, but yeah, you're able to score on them right now.
So I think my guy Jake Ferguson has at least one score today. So
I like it.
And if you're going to score a touchdown, you're worth a start at tight end because it's an absolute wasteland.
Yeah, he could easily score tonight.
Tooch has two different names on this list he had Kincaid in this game in London, which I don't think he's done anything yet.
He's got 2 for 25 or something.
2 for 19. So far that one hasn't played out, but obviously we all love Laporta. We all had him on our list. And he likes Zach Ertz today against Cincinnati. He is a target machine and looks like he's going to be playing. So
yeah, he's been getting tons of targets all season so far. I think he missed maybe one game, but tons of targets on Arizona. Seems to move the ball, and in the games they've been behind, like last week, Ertz got like 6 targets on one drive at the end of the game. It's like he made all his points at the very end.
Yeah, he's a great play. I like what he's done.
Yeah.
Travis he was asking us about Jordan Love earlier. He said top waiver wire QBs are Stafford, Garoppolo, Tannehill. Pick up Stafford.
Stafford all day, buddy.
Pick him up. I would drop Jordan Love for Stafford.
Yeah.
Screw it.
Oh, yeah.
I'd rather have Stafford. I can't believe Stafford's available.
Yeah. With
get him and plug him in and feel good about it, Travis.
Cup coming back versus Philly defense. Oh, yeah.
Sign me up for that all day long. But, yeah, good stuff there. Getting into our defensive starts. Today I like the Dolphins against the Giants because everyone against the Giants looks amazing.
Yeah.
I like the Lions defense against Carolina today. I think they're going to get after the rookie Bryce Young at quarterback. And then we were just talking about the Texans a little while ago. I love them today against Atlanta. First off, Atlanta's had terrible quarterback play. If they're going to get beat on the ground, it's going to be by Bijan Robinson. They're going to have to shut him down. But I think the Texans are worth a streaming play today in fantasy, Adam.
Oh, absolutely. I love all those picks right there. I got 2 of them the same there with the Dolphins and the Lions. I think the Lions are the number 1 defense this week for me.
For sure.
But the Dolphins, I expect a blowout there, and Dolphins defense is pretty decent. And we know Daniel Jones can turn it over like nobody else, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I was like the other night, that last game the other night, like that guy cracks me up watching him. The facial expressions he makes all game long. He looks so confused all the time. Yeah, like every play, it's like, oh my God, what is this? I've never seen this before. like
he looks
every
confused
time.
And terrified at the same time.
Yeah, but yet willing to try it, But he's a pretty tough guy though. He goes at it though. But yeah, man, he cracks me up watching him. But I think that could be ugly today. And the other one I got is the Ravens versus Pittsburgh because the Pittsburgh quarterback situation's up in the air. And even when they know who the quarterback is, it's not been good. So the offense is just horrible. They're one of the few offenses that had looked worse than the Bears, in my opinion, for previous to the last couple of weeks even. The Ravens defense, we know they're always a good defensive team. So I'd play the Ravens versus Pittsburgh all day today.
I love it, man. And our buddy Travis says he picked up Stafford. He wasn't sure against that Philly front, though.
Yeah. They're not going to have to worry too much about a run now. They're going to be throwing past that Philly front.
And he's going to be getting the ball out of his hands really quick today.
Yep. Cooper
especially
Kupp,
with Kupp back.
Bang, bang.
I'm looking forward to watching that game, man. That's going to be awesome.
I am too. That's one I'm excited about. I've had Cooper Kupp on 2 teams, man, and one of them I managed to get to 3-1 without him. The other was the first time in my life my team's been 0-4 in your league. And, of course, everybody's trying to trade me for him now that he's coming back this week. And I'm like, I've already suffered all the consequences. I'm going to at least enjoy the fruits for a week or 2 here.
That's right.
Like before I trade him away. So, yeah, I'm excited to get him back and pump some gas into that team, hopefully. Because that team, I got Bijan on that team, too. I got Bijan, Breece Hall, and Cooper Kupp all together.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
Day.
It's going to work out, man.
I hope.
Our buddy Tooch has the Ravens and Dolphins as well, but he also has the Patriots starting on defense versus New Orleans today.
I thought about that one.
I can certainly see them bouncing back. They were horrible on defense last week, so
yeah.
Belichick has probably ran those guys in a million miles this week, and they probably are like, we're not doing that again. Let's go.
Right.
So I
The
love
only
that.
thing, the only thing about that, though, the Patriots did lose their best corner for the whole
They
season.
did.
Yeah,
They made a
that's
trade too. Who did they trade for?
I don't know. I don't think I heard about that.
They traded for a corner.
To replace, was it Christian Gonzalez, the rookie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not making this up.
I mean, that would make sense if they did. He was their best player on defense so far.
I'm sure I'll find it later on. Of course, I can't find it now, but I think he was like a third string corner or whatever. Travis loves Herbert on a bye week, so he picked up Love. He's surprised that someone dropped Stafford, as are we. So lucky you, Travis. Having Herbert and Stafford is great. That's a great problem to have. And obviously with the bye this week, you got no choice, but great stuff there. But let's get into our sleeper starts of the week. Adam mentioned it before, but he likes Gus.
Yeah, Gus Edwards, man. He was on some waiver wires at the start of the week even, so he's a great one that should see a role today. Pretty big role versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh defense has not been good. Not the scary defense they have been the last few years. So I would be happily starting Gus Edwards, especially in a flex position. The other one's Michael Wilson, this rookie wide receiver for the Cardinals. Last couple of weeks, he's really been coming alive. He's played a ton of snaps all year, but the last 2 weeks, his targets have really went up. He's got 2 touchdowns over the last couple of weeks. Dobbs seems to really like him. It's kind of been Marquise Brown and Michael Wilson for the receivers right now for them. So I think he's an easy waiver wire guy that's almost available everywhere. You can grab and play. And then his quarterback, we talked about Josh Dobbs today. Great streaming play. I think if you need him putting up the rushing yards and passing for over 200 every game. And like I said earlier, even when they're coming from behind, he's building you up those stats at the end of the game for your fantasy team.
Absolutely, man. Especially if you're on a bye and you need some help this week, Joshua Dobbs could certainly help you out. All great sleeper picks there. I also have Dobbs on my sleeper start list. I also like Jaleel McLaughlin today versus the Jets in a sleeper role. I mean, he kind of came in and he's been helping out at running back for Denver. The offense obviously got clicking last week against the Bears enough to, well, was that last week? Yeah, technically it was last week at this point still. The Bears had a short week. But I know the Jets are tough against the run, but McLaughlin might catch a couple passes. In a sleeper capacity, I like him this week. And then Tyler Boyd against Arizona. Boyd got involved pretty heavily last week with Joe Burrow, and he's been kind of like the silent guy downfield. Kind of going under the radar, single man coverage, getting balls out of bounds. And he's looked pretty good, and Arizona is not great in the middle of the field.
Well, and you got T. Higgins is questionable as well with the cracked ribs. I don't know if he's playing, so that's the biggest reason for me that I like Boyd.
For sure, especially if Higgins is out. I even like him if Higgins plays, but I obviously if Higgins is out 100%, then Boyd looks that much better. So, and then there's been all these, I don't know if they're real reports or not. It's been floating around on the internet. I think it's probably fake, but I've heard stuff that, Jamar Chase isn't happy and he's potentially requested a trade, but I think it's kind of just the internet talking a little bit.
Wishful thinking by 31 other fan bases.
Yeah, and the fan bases and fantasy owners that want him to go somewhere that he still was pretty productive the last couple of weeks with Burrow being horrible, but
yeah.
But those are my starts. Let's go to Tooch's sleeper picks.
He did make that comment last week or whatever about that I'm always open, and the reporter asked him about, do you think you're getting open? He's like, I'm always open, and he seemed irritated, but we see that with all receivers all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he wants out.
I mean, he kind of is always open too.
Right.
But Jordan Love is one of Tooch's sleeper picks. We talked about that before. Good matchup against Vegas. The Packers should win that game. Should. Zay Flowers never leaves this list for Tooch. He's always on the sleeper list for Tooch against Pittsburgh. But he's a great player, and he's got a great matchup today. So I'm all in for that. And then the tight end, Tyler Conklin for the Jets. He's been one of those guys that just quietly catches, 3 to 5 passes a game. Every once in a while, he sneaks in a touchdown, especially against the terrible Denver defense. I could see Conklin scoring a touchdown today. So I love that as a sleeper pick from Tooch.
Yeah, I like those as well. We talked about Jordan Love and Zay Flowers is just so good, man. Pittsburgh defense isn't scary. So Tyler Conklin, man, I really hope the Jets can put up points today. And for some reason, for somebody that, I've never had any care about Zach Wilson whatsoever, but I'm rooting for him hard now. Like, ever since Rodgers went down, it's like, all right, come on, kid, get it together. Let's, I think maybe it's because I have Garrett Wilson on a couple teams. But
for sure.
I feel like most people are rooting for Zach Wilson at this point. It really flipped on him, like, where everybody's kind of like, get that kid out of here. Now everybody's like, come on, you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah. Buddy Marcos is back here in the chat. Appreciate you, Marcos. Half-point PPR, sit one, Chase, Ayuk, or Puka. Wow.
Why do you have to sit one of those? Who are you playing over, Ayuk and Puka?
Yeah, who's the other player you're playing over?
You can't sit Chase. You can't sit Chase.
You can't sit Chase. You can't sit Puka.
You
can't really sit Ayuk either. I mean, if I had to pick one out of these three, I'd probably go with Ayuk based on the matchup. But, like, who else you got, Marcos, that you're benching one of these guys?
Yeah,
Can you plug one of these guys into a flex, maybe?
I'd probably have to just flip a coin on Ayuk or Puka on that.
He said he's got A.J. Brown as his other wide receiver.
These are nice problems, Marcos.
Yeah, it's really nice problems they have.
Geez, that's tough. I'll probably bench Ayuk, I guess. I don't know, man.
Same.
I'd probably bench Puka. Ayuk's got more touchdown upside, I think. I'd play Chase and Ayuk.
I think I would go Chase and Puka myself just because Ayuk's got the Cowboys. And again, I know they're probably scarier in name than they are in actual defense, but I feel
Debo's healthy and playing, right?
Yeah, Debo's playing as far as I know. So that's why I'm taking Puka, because I think Puka's going to get more single coverage this week. And again, I would start all these guys if I could. But if I had to choose, I would bench Ayuk. That's a great problem to have, though, Marcos.
Yeah.
If all these guys go off this week, you should probably trade one of them.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be trying to trade Puka to somebody right now, man. I would have been doing that a couple days ago before Cup was activated.
Either way, I think he's going to have value for sure. Let's get to our sits. So, Adam, who do you have for your sits this week?
Drake London, we talked about him multiple times. Houston's pass defense is one of the better in the league, man. They've very been good. Yeah, they're very good pass defense. And on the opposite side there, Atlanta's one of the worst passing offenses. So that's just a horrible combination there. So Drake London, not a chance he's starting in any of my lineups if I had him. Dalvin Cook, I don't feel comfortable in his role whatsoever on the Jets right now. They talked about unleashing Breece Hall now. So it's like Dalvin Cook hasn't really been doing anything anyway. And if they're saying Hall's going to get more touches, that sounds, again, just like a bad idea.
The only way Cook gets anything today is if they get a huge lead and they let him go in the game late.
Right. And even in that situation, I feel like Michael Carter is going to see a whole lot. They love Michael Carter there. They say Michael Carter's the captain of that team, they say.
I still don't understand why they signed Dalvin Cook. He looks horrible.
I don't either. And they gave him $7 million or something. It's not like he was free. So, yeah, that doesn't make any sense, but he's not in my fantasy lineups. I mean, honestly, he's not that far from droppable, in my opinion. I would try to trade him for almost anything I could get useful.
Yeah, he's droppable. I was desperate in one league. I needed somebody today, and I'm just hoping that the matchup plays out, but I don't like it.
Yeah, no. And the other one, Dak, I think that Dallas is going to – I think that's going to be a really good game today, but Dak hasn't had any big games yet, and – for San Francisco, we said you can score on them, but I got a feeling it could be a lot of Tony Pollard today. And
I think so.
Yeah, so I'm not real crazy about Dak today.
Me either, man. Me either. I have not been impressed. So hopefully he plays better than we think, but I've not seen anything out of Dak that I love. Although if I started him in guillotine last week, I wouldn't have got chopped, but nonetheless, you live and die by the blade. Let's go to Tooch's sits of the week. I'm sorry. Let me go to mine real quick before we go to Tooch's. I'm sitting Joe Burrow today at Arizona. I can't trust Joe Burrow. He looks completely injured. At this point, the coaching is just a disaster if they continue to play him and they know he's hurt. I just don't understand why you would jeopardize this kid's future. And obviously he's not 100%. I hope he goes out and proves me wrong, but nobody in their right mind can trust Joe Burrow right now. I know you can't in a bunch of leagues. I can't.
So I'm going to have to do it on guillotine today, Joe. It's either that or Daniel Jones, and I can't do Daniel Jones versus Dolphins.
Yeah, you have no choice there.
There's
Unless
nobody else.
Dobbs was available, but he probably got picked up now in guillotine. He was available last week.
Yeah, there's not anybody else any better. It's like Kenny Pickett is like the other option.
Yeah, no thanks.
Or Bryce Young. I'm not doing.
Yeah, so I can't trust Joe Burrow. Najee Harris for me is continuously underwhelming, and against Baltimore's run defense with Roquan in the middle of the field, I just don't see him doing anything today. And then here's a bit of a hot take. I'm going to bench George Kittle today against Dallas. George Kittle hasn't been overly involved. Dallas very good against the tight end. And as we mentioned, you got Debo, you got Ayuk, you got McCaffrey. I just think this is a game where George Kittle is not going to be part of the game plan. He's going to do a lot of blocking today. So I'm benching George Kittle. I know that's probably a hot take in fantasy land, but I just can't trust him right now, Adam.
Yeah, no, I'm out on George Kittle almost every week right now. There's too many options there, man. And we talked about how efficient Purdy is with it. There's too many weapons all around him, and Kittle's too great of a blocker. They just don't need him in the passing game often. And the only time I'm really comfortable playing Kittle is if Ayuk or Debo's out, and then that would be the only days I'm comfortable doing it.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm out on Kittle for right now. He's got the potential, I just don't see it happening today. Tooch is also sitting Najee Harris. He's benching Russell Wilson against the Jets, which I think is obviously a great call because the Jets have a great defense. Russ is just cringeworthy. Somehow he managed to pull off against the Bears a couple weeks or last weekend, but I don't see it going on against the Jets, that's for sure. And he also had Trevor Lawrence against Buffalo, which ended up being a pretty good call, although that game I think is over now. Wow, actually, Trevor Lawrence, they scored again.
Jacksonville, ETN scored a minute ago.
Yeah, ETN's got 2 touchdowns on the ground for 132 yards, so ETN is 8 today.
Got a big game.
Although Trevor Lawrence did throw for 315 yards with 1 score, but Buffalo scored again.
Buffalo just scored.
25-20. That game's still going. Maybe it's going to be a better game than we thought it was going to be, Adam.
Yeah, Josh Allen just ran it in.
Salvaging his fantasy day. He's thrown over 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, but he did rush for a touchdown as well.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Tooch has obviously got some good options there to sit. We have questions still pouring in. We're going to take you guys up to kickoff. Connor wants to know Jordan Addison or Jalen Reed.
I'm going Jordan Addison. I like that game. I think, like we said over and over, man, I just think there's a lot of points there. Jalen Reed would be my backup plan for that Devontae Adams we talked about, but I would play Jordan Addison.
I second that. Connor says he's got ETN and DJ Moore carrying his team. I imagine you probably won already between those two guys.
Yeah.
That's like 50.
Yeah, about 90 points probably.
That's about 90 points there. You might set a record this week, Connor. You got to let us know next week how many points you ended up scoring this week because I imagine you're going to be close to 200 and potentially over. So anytime you score 200 plus, you're feeling pretty good. I, unfortunately, was going against DJ Moore on Thursday, but I did have Sam Howell. I pulled the trigger on him. Got 35 points out of him. So if I have a good day, maybe I'll get back in it. Who knows? But we're going to answer all the questions here. So chat room, get us your questions, and we take you up to kickoff. Adam, let's quickly go through the inactives list because we do have the inactives for the early games. It's obviously the Buffalo game's already almost over, but for the Lions, we talked about it. There's no Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's no Jahmyr Gibbs. For Carolina, there's not really anybody of note.
Saquon ruled out.
Saquon's ruled out for the Jets or for the Giants.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. Diving into the Ravens-Steelers game, no Pat Freiermuth at tight end for Pittsburgh, so that's people are going to have to pivot for a tight end in that matchup. For Baltimore, nobody really of note. Talking here about the Atlanta game and Texans. A lot of defensive players out in this game, but no offensive guys. But I will say Houston's defense does have quite a few guys out in corner and their linebackers. They got 2 corners out, no Shaquille Griffin, no Tavier Thomas, and Christian Harris is out at linebacker, as well as Garrett Wallow. So that Houston defense is pretty banged up in that game. So that might be make it more high scoring than we thought originally.
They're still saying Aaron Jones is a game time decision.
I don't get that.
Oh, that's tomorrow night though, isn't it? No, I was thinking that was like they're still trying to figure that out. Like, no.
Yeah, it's tomorrow night. Saints Patriots. The Saints, Juwan Johnson will be out at tight end. He's not playing for the Saints. And then for New England, as we mentioned, Christian Gonzalez got banged up. He's out for the year, so obviously he's down, and that defense takes a big hit with that.
Javonte Williams still has a chance to play for Denver, it sounds like.
Wow. I'm surprised by that. You think they'd give him another week?
He was a full participant in practice yesterday, and his game time decision are still.
Yeah. Titans Colts. Traylon Burks will be out at wide receiver for Tennessee. Not that you were starting him, but if you were desperate, you were, but he's out. And then for Indianapolis, Jonathan Taylor making his season debut for the Colts. So goodbye fantasy value of Zach Moss.
Yeah, he's gone. I cut him on a team.
Yeah, as expected. Then Giants at Dolphins, as you mentioned it, Adam. No Saquon in that game. He's officially out, so it's a Matt Breida game. He's a decent start against Miami if you need a running back. And then for Miami, the recently acquired Chase Claypool will be inactive in that game. So if you were trying to be cute, he's out. And Salvin Ahmed, the running back, is also out. So that means that the Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert duo continues to roll without a third head. So that's good things there for those owners. And that's all of the morning games. Anybody in note that's already ruled out for the afternoon games? The only guy owned on any team is for the 49ers. Elijah Mitchell will be inactive today for San Francisco, so he won't be backing up. You probably weren't starting him anyway, but I know he's owned in a lot of leagues because he's probably the most valuable backup in fantasy. Connor says, I have Saquon and Amon-Ra on the bench because they're hurt. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's a tough pill to swallow. Never any fun.
Kind of expect that with Saquon, though.
Yeah, and I'm checking out the end of this game, man. Looks like Jacksonville got the ball back. 2 minutes left in this game. We'll see what they can do to end things out. But I wanted to bring up, Adam, while we're here, Gabe Davis. Because here's a guy that everyone last year was like, Gabe Davis. He didn't do shit last year.
Yeah, no.
He's continued to be fantastic this year. Again, today he's over 100 yards, 6 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. He's been targeted 8 times in this game. Stephon Diggs was targeted 10 times. So if you're only getting 2 less targets than Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis clearly becoming a favorite and getting some chemistry going with Josh Allen. Intriguing, to say the least.
Yeah, he's like you said, last year everybody was hot on Gabe Davis, and then he just did nothing all year pretty much. He was bust except for like 2 games maybe. And this year he definitely seems to be the real consistent number 2 for the Buffalo Bills. So I'm probably not comfortable having him as my wide receiver 2, but he would be a good flex option to have in your lineup most weeks, I think.
I agree. He's a flex or a 3 for sure, and he's got a lot of upside. James Cook's going to finish this game with a horrendous stat line, Adam. He's got 5 carries for -4 yards and 3 catches for 25. So, that's 5 fantasy points. Just horrendous.
Yeah, he's got my head is up for grabs right now on Guillotine League.
Yeah, and I was a guy who's loving James Cook, and you have to wonder if there's a chemistry thing going on. Damian Harris had 3 carries for 13 yards. Latavius had 2 carries for 6. I mean, they only ran the ball outside of Josh Allen. I'm not counting his carries, but 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 carries in the entire game on the ground.
Yeah, that's not going to get it done for anybody out of the backfield. Josh Allen seems to have gotten all those. How many rushing yards does he have? It seems like he's ran quite a few times from what I can tell.
He's got 14 yards on 4 carries.
Oh, only 14 yards?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he's got at least 1 touchdown, I guess. But looks like they're getting ready to get the ball back, too.
Yeah, there's a minute 15 left in that game. A touchdown would win it for Buffalo. So if you guys are watching this, you can catch a exciting finish as kickoff is right around the corner. We're a few minutes away. Get your last minute questions in here. We're probably going to wrap the show maybe a few minutes earlier than usual, unless we get a flurry of questions here. But Adam, are there any big games you're looking forward to watching today?
Like I said, I'm looking forward to that Rams game versus the Eagles. I want to see Cooper Kupp back out there. I want to see those 2 offenses. I like both those teams a lot. Also, the Chiefs-Vikings game I think could be fun. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Jefferson. I think that one sounds like a good time. And the game tonight, Cowboys 49ers, should be really good.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be real good. Yeah, so those are the ones I'm most excited about. And I want to see how Zach Wilson does today versus the Broncos.
Yeah, all good options. I'm looking forward to seeing the Texans against the Falcons too. I think that'll be a good game. Both teams 2-2. Unexpectedly 2-2, although the Falcons I think might have played better than they actually are in the first couple weeks of the season. But also surprisingly interested in the Saints-Patriots game to see what they have going on there. But I think Derek Carr is going to give it a go again this week, from what I understand. So
I would think he would again if he played last week, and I haven't heard anything negative that he had any setback or anything. So you would hope he'd be a little better this week than he was last, because otherwise that's going to kill Olave and stuff like that.
Yeah. Xavier's got a last minute question here. He needs some help. He has no options. P. Ryan or Ronnie Rivers?
P. Ryan.
P. Ryan for sure. I like P. Ryan's matchup today.
Ronnie Rivers, they're on a bye.
Oh yeah, they are.
Yeah, like don't start that. Definitely don't start any Chargers.
Yeah, I'm taking P. Ryan. I mean, not a great option, but he's 1 injury away from being the lead dog, so he'll get his carries today.
Yeah, he may get some dump offs versus the Jets defense,
and he could get a goal line carry, so maybe he'll get a score for you. He's been known to be a touchdown. He steals the touchdowns at the goal line. So great question, though, Xavier. Hopefully, anyone else got any last-minute questions? We're going to wrap things up here in just a few. What do you got going on today, Adam? You going to get to watch some of these games?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm going to hopefully just watch some football is all I hope I'm doing. Got the day off work, so.
There you go, buddy. I'm hoping to do the same thing. I picked up this little bit of a cold that just won't go away, so I'm hoping I can just chill and watch some football and take it easy and, enjoy some good food. I think my wife's taking
food
some
and be lazy is what I'm thinking. Yeah.
We don't have to. The Bears can't lose today, Adam. So that's good.
Yeah, exactly. We've already got a win in our pocket for this week on that one. So that's the first time in almost a year we can count on that. So
and it's weird because
it's been awesome, man. I mean, the last couple of weeks, it was really. I mean, the Bears are in such a weird spot now with Justin Fields and everything. It's just so complicated at this point. But, it was so nice to see him have another great game on top of the one where it was like, oh, well, that was versus the Broncos, Well, he did it again. He did it again, almost equally as good. I mean,
and the Commanders are much better than the Broncos. So
yeah, absolutely. And the Bears' offensive line played good against a good defensive front there against
Tevin Jenkins. Tevin
Jenkins was the key to it. That's what I was telling DJ the other day. He was like, what was the difference? I was like, we got Tevin Jenkins back the other night, and he's such a stud when he's healthy, man. And so that was a huge part of it. And it just, Fields was planting his foot and throwing with confidence, and you could just see it the whole game. And if they can keep that going, it's going to be such a tough decision of what they're going to do.
Yeah, I was just happy to see something positive for once.
Yeah, man.
But it's
Absolutely.
weird. There's no Bears on today. So of course the Barroom Network. We usually have our halftime show Bear football and post game show Bear football. But there was Barfly Tailgate show on before us talking about the Bears being back, maybe, and if they're feeling better. And I encourage you guys to go back and watch that if you didn't catch it. Of course, you can hit Adam and myself up on Twitter all day long if you have questions, at Papa Bear 816, at Joe Mandel, at John Santucci VIP for our buddy Tooch, and of course the account for the show at FFB Goon. Please give us a follow. We could use a few more follows, so if you want to give us a follow, we would greatly appreciate it on Twitter/X. And then also we have a Facebook account where you can watch the show and comment on the show and give us questions as well. Check us out on YouTube as well. We're answering questions all the way up to kickoff every single week. So get your last minute questions in. I'll give you guys another 2 minutes and then we're going to get out of here. But also make sure you subscribe to the Barroom Network and get notified every time we go live, or you can catch us wherever podcasts are available. Tons of great shows coming up this week on the Barroom. You got Greg Gabriel talking football this week. You've got Crosstown Crosstalk with Vinny Parisi, Bar Down talking hockey with Vinny Parisi. Hockey season is starting up this week, so that's going to be a big show. Solid Burbs Hitmen are in a hiatus now that the White Sox season is over. Thank God. They stunk it up, but anytime some big off-season news comes up, we'll talk about it. You got Buffon 55. Got Mike North press conference every single week. Somebody big just died. Dick Butkus died on Thursday night. So we have a show that we did this week. Somebody big just died, a tribute to Dick Butkus. Definitely go back and check that out. It was a great show. Mike told a lot of great stories. He knew Dick personally. So I encourage everyone to go check that out. Just subscribe. We got Dan and Aldo, Bare Their Souls. So much good stuff. Get it all here on the Barroom Network. Adam, before we get out of here, my man, any shout-outs or any last-minute thoughts?
I need to give a shout-out to Joe Burrow today. I need a miracle, buddy.
Help Adam out, Joe.
Yeah. Come on, Joe Burrow. Guillotine League is looking rough for me with Brian Robinson and James Cook starting it off. Not good. Need you, Joe Burrow, today. Otherwise, thank you to Connor and everybody for tuning in as always, and spread the word, please. And like you said, give us some follows. We could use them all. And appreciate you, Joe, as always.
Appreciate it, Adam. Always appreciate you, buddy. It's always fun doing this with you every Sunday morning during football season. Also, shout out to everybody in the chat today. Awesome questions. Appreciate it as always. Shout out to the Tooch. He's out with his family. He couldn't make it, but he still sent us that sweet video to top the show.
Tooch.
So appreciate that, Tooch. And then last minute, the Jacksonville Jaguars pulled out the W in London. 25-20 over the Bills is the final. So, yeah, the Bills.
Win for them.
Yeah, they needed that big time.
Yeah, they really did.
So the plot thickens in the NFL. There's no team that's far superior than anybody else, unless you're talking about the 49ers. We'll see if they can continue their undefeated streak. I have a feeling Philly might lose their first game today, but we'll see.
Yeah, I could see that happening too. That's why I'm interested in watching that game. I hope that's one of the main games on.
As I mentioned, only two undefeated teams are the 49ers and the Eagles. We'll see if that remains after today. But
Panthers are the only winless team left, right? After the Bears won.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I don't think that's changing today, but we never know.
Stay that way because that's our pick.
Yeah, that's right. That is our pick. But appreciate you guys, everyone, tuning in. We'll be back every single Sunday before kickoff to help you with your fantasy advice. And there will be a waiver wire video coming out on Tuesday, starring this week, John Santucci, the Tooch. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But for Fantasy Football Goon, I'm Joe Mandel. That's Adam Schaum, the man with the plan. And as always, God bless America. God bless football. And let's kick some ass. Go win your matchups. See you next week.